Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I I missed last week because I have technical difficulties and I am not a techno genius. So when I go live, it just has to work or I'm out of luck. So I apologize if you missed me last week. I missed you too. But we are back today and I want to talk a little bit about self-care. Self-care has become a bit of a catchphrase for women. We talk a lot about it, and I'm going to share that when I was young, or when I was a young woman, um, self-care wasn't modeled by my mother. That wasn't a word back then. Women of her generation and the way I was raised was, you did your job, and self-care was a bath on Sunday night. Um, Self-care was, for me, when my kids were young, sneaking away to the library after my husband came home from work and spending a few hours with magazines that I couldn't afford to buy, but I could read them at the library. And now self-care has become, oh my gosh, a multi-billion dollar business. We can self-care ourselves, through literally probably thousands of dollars a month if we wanted to. But what is self-care really? What is self-care when we're not talking about pedicures and hair color? What is self-care? And one thing I find is lots of women say, I don't have time for self-care. We all have 24 hours a day. We all have 24 hours a day. And we all choose how we want to use our 24 hours. One thing I think has to happen if we're having a self-care, if we're choosing self-care, is it has to be conscious. So here's the thing. Even I have time during my day that I twiddle away. On Facebook, right? As we meet here on Facebook. Reading a magazine. Reading a novel. The thing that makes self-care different for me is consciousness. If I consciously pour myself a cup of tea and sit down in a warm chair by a window or on the back porch, and I consciously tell myself, this is my time, then I get to enjoy that, and I get to rest my soul a little bit, and I get to reset. But if I frantically run around and I think, oh, you know what, I'm going to look on Facebook for a few minutes. Let me just look on Facebook. I just check in with everybody. I can do that. That's not self-care. And in fact, when we tie in technically to lives that are not integral to ours, sometimes I think that creates more stress in our life and not less stress in our life. People, you know what they say? They say what is it? If they mind, they don't matter, and if they mind, they don't matter. If they matter, they don't mind. If they're not our friends in real life, do we really care what they think about us? If they're not somebody we respect and have a relationship with us, then is it something we need to invest our time in? Now, sometimes we do. We need to stand up for something we truly believe in. We need to make that investment. But is that self-care? Is it self-care to put our energy out there? And maybe for some people it is. For me, it is definitely not. Maybe for some people, they feel really vibrant and alive when they're out in techno world doing techno world things. For me, it's different. I need to consciously set aside time that nurtures my soul. So what nurtures your soul? And the answers for everybody are different. But I think we should all have a self-care checklist that we can turn to quickly and regroup. And it doesn't have to cost. So again, self-care in our world today, it's, the $200 visit to the hairdresser or the $50 pedicure or and I'm going to tell you, like, I used to love going to get pedicures. Like, they used to rub your feet. You could relax for a while. I feel like even that doesn't feel like self-care to me anymore. We have those stories of people who go to get a massage, great self-care, and then they chat through the whole thing, not good self-care. So to set boundaries around our self-care, I need to go walk in the woods alone. I need to go get a massage and have it be silent. So all of us, I need to go to a women's circle and be surrounded by women who are of like mind and spirit for me. The problem becomes when moms in particular, and I think, like I said, my mom did not model this. She was all in all the time, everything for everybody else. But you know what? She was a martyr about it. She was miserable. She was miserable because she didn't care for herself. She never prioritized her joy, her interests, her passions. And then as we become moms, self-care becomes even more complicated because now we feel like if we take time for ourselves, we take time away from our children. If we take time for ourselves or money for ourselves, we take time and money away from our kids. One thing about prenatal care, I think that ties into this a lot is I have these long, luxurious, fun prenatal visits with my moms. We schedule an hour for every visit. So for an hour, I have this lovely couch that the couples or the women snuggle up on. I usually kick off my shoes and we chat. We chat for 40 minutes of our hour together before we do the belly check and all the other pieces. And I hear over and over again how women just don't feel like they can take care of themselves in a lot of ways. But one thing I tell them about prenatal care does not happen in the hour that we sit in clinic together. Even my big long visits, that's not very much prenatal care, right? Prenatal care is when you go home and you choose not to live a life full of stress and anxiety that increases your cortisol levels and increases the anxiety in your body and the anxiousness in your body. Prenatal care is when you decide to take a walk or a yoga class or go swimming. Prenatal care is when you eat good food. So let's imagine for a minute, if we can, that your baby has been born and maybe as a toddler. And you know what, baby, I don't want to take you out for a walk in that stroller. And I don't feel like taking you to the park. And you know what, I don't want to feed you today. I'm just going to give you a pot of coffee. And you know what, you're telling me you're thirsty, but you know what, Pepsi will do. And you know, I don't want to cook dinner for you, so I'll tell you what, let's just have you have a handful of, you know, of nuts and you can eat over the sink. And how does that make us feel as mothers if we were to treat our children like that? Like awful, right? We would be considered awful mothers. Okay, now wait a minute. Every once in a while, any one of those things is okay. But on a regular basis, it's not okay to treat your child like that, right? We nurture them, we love them, we take them for walks, we take them to the park, we take them to the science museum and the zoo because we know that's going to bring them joy. We know that we need to feed them well, we need to love them, they need to play, they need to go outside and run and be wild and have good times. And yet, when we're pregnant, I have moms tell me all the time, like, oh, I just forget to eat. You forget to eat. Of course, now, if you know the size of my butt, I never forget to eat, but that's beside the point. You're feeding your baby. You're feeding yourself. You need to care for yourself the way you are going to care for that newborn. You're not going to tell your newborn that you don't have time to eat. You're not going to tell your toddler you don't have time to go out in the sunshine, at least not consistently. And why don't we owe ourselves at least that much love, at least that much grace? Don't we all deserve to have good food and laughter and joy and to do something that makes us happy? We all deserve fresh air and sunshine, but we all do that for others, particularly our children, which is great. But why do we have such a hard time prioritizing that kind of fundamental self-care for ourselves? This is an important question for us as women. And I particularly see this with women who tell me over and over, I don't have time to take a walk. I don't have time to feed myself a meal. I don't have time. And I just think, you're going to have a baby. If you think you don't have time now, what are you going to do with this baby? And of course, we mothers know what she's going to do. She's going to do it. She's going to beautifully rise to the occasion and become a wonderful mother. But what if we were able to change our mindsets a little bit? And what if we were able to say, you know what? If if my inner child needs to go walk in the woods, then I'm going to take her. I'm going to take her for a walk. If my inner child has had a hard day, maybe I'm going to take her out for ice cream. Maybe I'm going to take her someplace beautiful. Maybe I'm going to take care of her and nurture her the way I would my child. And I want to challenge all of us to think about that a little bit more and to maybe have just 5 things on our self-care list that we could do quickly. So for me, a bath. In 30 minutes, I'm a new woman. What makes it even more special? If I light it, so, oh God, I'm going to share a story. Sierra, my daughter's going to hate me. But if anybody knows me, you know this is par for the course with Karina. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to tell this story, but it's beautiful. So when my kids got to be teenagers, I don't even know what happened, but I was a very open mom, as you all can imagine. And at one point, if nothing else was going right and there was nothing else that we could do and they had tried everything they could try, somehow the phrase, "Have you tried masturbating?" came out. And it was like this, like, what the hell? There's nothing else I can do. I might as well try that. So it got to be this joke at our house that was kind of the catchphrase. If, we're just kvetching about something that you couldn't do anything about, then you might as well try that. So one day I was kvetching to my daughter in the car, just kvetching and kvetching. And she looked at me and she goes, "Mom, have you tried masturbating?" And it was hilarious because she followed it up with, "Light a candle, spend some time." And so my 17-year-old daughter, in her wild wisdom, kind of gave me this insight of, we need to spend some time. Take a bath, light a candle, spend some time. Put on your shoes, go for a walk, sit in the woods, spend some time. Go take care of yourself so that you can take care of your family and your loved ones and your clients and your people and your friends. Take some time. Honestly, I think that if we as women watching this can model for our daughters good self-care, good boundaries, good communication, clear self-love and respect, we will raise a generation of women that will wow us even more than the generation that I raised is wowing me now. The future is in our hands, ladies, and the best way we can mold that is to make sure these women are well nourished, well loved, well respected, and that they know that sometimes they just need to take some time. So that's my thought for the day, and I would love if everybody would share with me their self-care ideas and what they do. And the next time you see me walking in the woods, you'll know that it's just about self-care. Have a great Tuesday, and hopefully we'll see you around Embrace sometime soon.